Can everyone hear okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine, and you just need to turn the mics on.
And we're live. All right, thanks guys. Really appreciate your time. It's good to finally meet you. Obviously, on the big news front, everyone's aware obviously of the acquisition recently, so congratulations. For those that have been living under a rock, Tantan $700 million acquisition by Momo. When we were talking the other day, something was quite surprising when you said that you weren't even looking or wanting to look at an acquisition, and specifically not with Momo. And then when I also went ahead and looked back and realized when you raised your 70 million Series D, there was one of the funders, one of the investors was YY, which is obviously a competitor to Momo. So it'd be cool to just talk a little bit about that if we start with the big thing before I get into a little bit more detail. But tell us about that, because I thought that was really interesting.
Okay, I'm not sure how much I can say about this without hurting people's feelings. The whole thing happened pretty quickly. We were about to raise our E round, and we started the process roughly 3 weeks before Chinese New Year's, and it went incredibly well. So within those 3 weeks, we more or less got a few term sheets and finished due diligence. So basically, after the holidays, we could go back and close the deal. And in this process, Momo came forward and said they wanted to do the acquisition. And obviously, we were not looking to sell the company. So that's probably why they had to, they gave us an offer that it had to be more or less in every way possible better than raising money. So for us as a team, it's actually similar in terms of our daily lives. We sold all the shares, but for the employees, all the unvested options continue to vest. And we run the company completely independently, and we for various reasons we still have a similar upside to what it would have been if we raised money. So that's why it was attractive for us, and for all employees and the founders. We've been doing this for 11 years now. So it's good to be able to get some cash.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's a really good point. So everyone obviously knows who Tantan is and what you has built and the team has built, and the acquisition is just great. A great news for local startups that are in the consumer's eye and actually seeing exits out there, as opposed to a lot of Series A, B, C, D, and then hoping for something else. So it's really good news. So I think really congratulations.
Thank you.
One of the other things that is interesting about you that I've found out or know now is that you're a very open founder. For example, the Reddit AMAs that you do, the responding to emails from pissed off customers. I think that's unusual in China amongst founders. And I think that it's unusual full stop, just in the world. Most people are quite closed, even people that are in our world, but especially so here. It'd be good, I think, if you talk a little bit about that. Why, not so much why you're like that, but why or where you think it's added value to the business. Does it reflect some of the culture of the business? And maybe some word of advice or encouragement for some of the founders in the audience as well.
I think it's probably connected to me growing up in Sweden. I was born in Beijing. We moved to Sweden when I was 7, and I spent roughly 20 years there. And and then we came back to China to start P1, our first company. So we ran that for 7-8 years. Made basically all the mistakes you can make. And they were very painful mistakes, and Tantan was very smooth sailing, mostly because we just avoided all those mistakes. So, but over those years, I clearly felt that when starting something, right? There's a urge to keep things hush hush. You know, it's that people don't copy you and so on. And I just noticed that that was pretty pointless, and it also hurt your chances of getting, you know, people to help you. If they didn't know what you were doing, if your team members didn't know exactly, you know, what your thoughts were and how things were going, it would limit your chances of success. So, and also basically, it's a little bit in my nature to just be straight. So I tend to just cut to the point and just say things as I think they are. And I think that has helped more than it has damaged. And actually, I can't think of a single, you know, example where it actually has made, you know, a negative impact. So that's just, you know, from experience and from nature.
Yeah, I think even in one of your AMAs, when there was an issue on security and stuff, you were just completely open, and you got a bit of flack for it. But I think being open, I said, hasn't damaged you at all. From a investor perspective, where you've backed you for a while, can you talk a little bit about his nature as a founder and this openness and his vision and what attracted you to him and the business?
Okay, sure. Actually, in April 18th, that's our 1-year anniversary of the creation venture after the departure from client proteins. You were there with us at a similar podcast track to me. The conversation is like kind of going on, but he was so straightforward. He don't care about the political tracks and bullshit. He just gives you a straight answer, and you thinking that like, oh, how should we have a conversation going on? That's him. He's so straightforward. From beginning, actually, when we met, actually, social is so difficult in business. If you calculate the past 10, 15 years in China, in social network investments, there's very few successes. For example, the Momo, right? I tried to invest in round. I have the Tang Yan in my office. I talked for 4 hours. He said he need to go back to board for approval for the term sheet. He refused to sign immediately when I was in China. We go back there, talk with their board member, and after that, maybe decided to do internal round. And I was so, you know, feel bad. I spent a lot of time with Tang Yan and lost it. Then we met with many other social companies, but when we met with Wang Yu and Sophia, I feel that kind of excitement again, just like I feel with Tang Yan, the founder of Momo. So, but I have to admit, this is the latest investment I made in China. We don't have money left anymore, so I have to squeeze other portfolios reserve to make investments. Not much, but you can tell that from beginning, this kind of straightforward. I'm a northwestern China guy from desert area. I love this kind of straightforward. I think this is the best person to working with, and they really did a good job. Actually, since you talk about the M&A, I think compared to the mobile merger acquisition, the story we heard, I'm not in that deal, but I know the story. I think Yu and Sophia made a great effort to make the acquisition fair to everybody, including every investor. I think that's a respectful thing to do compared to that acquisition happens. And I heard some stories not so fair.
That's actually a really good segue. One of the questions I'd written down was to do with your upbringing in Europe and how you've built the culture of your team at Tantan, and what areas you think are where you're slightly different from perhaps the norm. And I think obviously that's one area there where you're looking for equitable treatment on the exit on anyone. What are some of the things that you think where you're building that culture, building that team? It's hard enough to get good people as it is. How important are principles or the way that you do things to you and to your business?
That's a pretty hard question. So, you know, being a founder, I think my biggest weakness through the years has been to, you know, get strong enough people on board. So that's something we tried to focus much more on while doing Tantan, and I think our partner Yu Wei, who everyone calls Ultraman, uh, um, was crucial to getting things rolling because he basically got the marketing side to work. So I think in the end, it's the most important thing is to get talented people on board. But then you also need to get people with the right attitudes, and you need to be able to work together, and people need to be good. You want to have good people on board. So it's not much more difficult than that, actually. And aside from that, I think we early on in P1 days, we ran it as a P1 for people who probably don't know about it, but it's a fashion community that we ran for 7-8 years. And in the early days, we ran it being brand driven. So because we wanted to make it high end, and back then we didn't think much about the products. We didn't really understand communities. We felt people were using communities because it was hot, and if we just made it hot, it would be hot. And we did that pretty well, actually. P1 to this day is a recognized brand in fashion circles. They even invited me to be a speaker at World Luxury Forum. For some reason.
Well, now you have enough money to buy all those luxurious things, right?
Yeah. And I was sitting there wearing silk market clothes. Anyways, so let me see. The topic was.
We're good. Yeah, we're good. Obviously, this is Silicon Dragon, so I want to get some insight from both of you guys about bigger picture stuff. If there is, I guess, is there an area, is there something that we're doing in China or that's happening here that the rest of the world or the West doesn't really understand? Like one of the big things, right? Is there anything like that, and how is it going to play out, in your opinion?
Okay, I can go first. Actually, this is the key reason why we need, find Perkins such prestigious platform, so powerful. I think, Eric Gold, John Doerr, Mary Meeker, all our partners. I should be there, right? Only reason is China, from 2011, we saw many new and more new innovations happen here. Never happens in the rest of the world. In part, we always copy from US. I was ashamed of during many competitions that people accuse us why the US company copy my business model. But since 2011, we saw more. That's not only consumer behavior-based business model, it's also the competition that we competitors doing here. It's different. Because the first signal is like Trump the mobile karaoke, mobile app, also social platform. When I met with the founder, they didn't launch the product yet, single-digit valuation. But when I talked with my peers in Silicon Valley, nobody understands why people sing karaoke at mobile phone at home. Are you crazy? That kind of feeling. But within 3 weeks, the company don't have any cash. They organically grow like several million users within 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, I travel back from US to China, Square gave 17 million pre-money valuation. Okay? It made a fortune for Square later. That's a signal that China really has something new compared to US. It never happened there. Then competition, people don't understand the same thing. When I try to invest in JD.com from B round to D round, peers always compare the market with Amazon. And China market from maybe like 1.5 something. It's totally different. The US market always in normal range, right? Then to the Uber model in China, when I tried to invest in YD A round, current half of DD, we signed term sheet 2 months. I'm not convinced my partners to go. In China, we give money to users. But in US, every order they have several dollars of revenue. You guys have negative
that's a great start. I think that's a basis of a really good conversation with you. Rebecca's killing us on time, though. Do you want to end with anything?
Yeah, just shortly. I think, China is a little bit like Japan.
Really?
Early days when they started out copying things, and then they went to innovate. But the difference is that Chinese people are much more hungry than Japanese people, and they're also much more individualistic. They're much more about the success of the individual than about the group. So it's much more suitable for entrepreneurs. And as people run out of things to copy, they are forced to innovate. And I think that's what's driving innovation. And if you have talent, you have hunger, innovation will happen. And that's what's happening, I think.
I think that's a great place to end. Thank you very much for your time. I hope everyone else has appreciated it. Thanks, guys.